You think you're choosing a wine. You're not. You're at a restaurant. 4 wines on the menu. $14, $24, $38, $52. Which one do you pick? Most people right now are thinking 24. Not the cheapest, that feels embarrassing. Not the most expensive, which feels excessive. But the $24, that feels reasonable. And here's the thing, the restaurant knew you'd pick that one before you even sat down. And they priced it accordingly. Today, we're breaking down why. Let's start with why you avoid the cheapest option. It's not because it tastes bad. You haven't tasted it yet, and there are lots of good wines in the low ranges. It's because of what choosing it says about you, even if you know your wines. When sitting at a table with colleagues, a date, a client, the wine choice is visible. It is performed. Choosing the cheapest wine sends a signal. I looked at price first. And for most people in most social contexts, that signal is uncomfortable. This is what behavioral economists call impression management. You're not just making a purchase decision, you're managing how the decision will appear. In social contexts, the cheapest option carries a reputational cost that has nothing to do with the product. And that cost is enough to move you one step up the ladder. Every time. But here's what's interesting. The discomfort is asymmetric. Choosing the cheapest feels bad, but choosing the most expensive doesn't feel twice as good. At some point, the price stops signaling taste and starts signaling excess. So with a $24 bottle you chose, you're not minimizing price and you're not maximizing quality. You're minimizing embarrassment. Now here's where it gets really interesting. What you just did, avoiding both extremes, has a name. It's called the compromise effect. And it was documented rigorously in a study by Itamar Simonson in 1989 in the Journal of Consumer Research. Simonson found something very powerful. When people face a choice with multiple options, they systematically avoid the extremes. Not because the extremes are bad, but because choosing an extreme requires justification. The cheapest requires you to justify, I didn't want to spend more. The most expensive requires you to justify, it was worth it. A middle option requires no justification at all. It is the justification. The compromise option wins not because it's the best choice, but because it's the easiest one to defend. And restaurants designed for this, precisely. Because they know that most tables, regardless of budget, regardless of occasion, will converge towards the second or third option on the list. Again, not because those wines are better, because those wines feel safe. Now let's go one level deeper. If most people choose the second cheapest option, what does a good restaurant do? They put their highest margin wine there. Let me be precise about what that means. A wine that costs the restaurant $6 to purchase might be placed on the list at $24. That's a margin of 77%. While the bottle at $18 might have a cost of $10, which is a margin of only 44%. The cheapest one on the list, the one nobody orders, is often actually decent value for money, but it's not designed to be chosen. We talked about this in the video about the cheapest option, linked above. It is designed to make the $24 feel reasonable by comparison. The pricing architecture has one job: make you feel like you made a smart, balanced decision while you're choosing the option that maximizes their profit. The second option is not the compromise between price and quality. It's the compromise between your social anxiety and your budget. And restaurants price exactly for that gap. That's not manipulation, it's pricing architecture. So, what does that mean if you're setting prices? 3 things. First, your cheapest option is not your entry point. It's your anchor. Its job is to make everything above it feel reasonable. So price it accordingly. Second, your most profitable option should not be your most expensive. It should be your second or third from the bottom. That's where the volume goes. That's where the margin should live. Third, the number of options matter. 3 options and people will pick the middle. 4 options and they'll cluster around the second or third options. Every tier you add changes the distribution. Most businesses treat pricing as a revenue calculation, but the best businesses treat it as behavioral architecture. You're not just setting prices, you're designing a decision and deciding where people will land. So here's the takeaway for you. Before you finalize your pricing tiers, ask yourself, where do I want people to land? Then, structure the range so that landing there feels like the obvious choice. Earlier I asked you a question. $14, $24, $38, $52. Most of you thought about the $24. You were not wrong, you were not irrational, you were doing exactly what the compromise effect predicts. Avoiding the embarrassment of cheapness, avoiding the excess of the top. Landing on the option that requires no explanation. And the restaurant, if they are good at this, build their entire price list around that moment. The second cheapest wine isn't where you compromise, it's where they expect you to land. Next time you open a wine list, you'll read it differently. Now here's the real question. If most people avoid the expensive option, why does it exist? Why do restaurants include a $52 bottle that almost nobody orders? Because it's not there to sell. It serves a different purpose, and that's exactly what we're breaking down in the next video. If this kind of analysis is useful to you, whether you're building pricing strategy or just trying to understand the world around you, subscribe to the Pricing Club. New video every Thursday. Thank you for watching. Take care.